live in high definition. This is Wave 3 News.
Where everybody looks at it being a proud act, we look at it as something we do every day. If it wasn't him, it would have been the next smallest guy or whoever could have went down in the hole.
A dramatic scene in an act of bravery. A child and a football coach trapped in a hole at least 10 feet underground. Tonight, live coverage of the rescue. Good evening, I'm Shannon Cogan.
And I'm Scott Reynolds. It happened at Russell Lee Park, that's in Park Duval in the 3600 block of Southern Avenue. Wave 3 News reporter Connie Leonard was there as it unfolded. A huge crowd gathered to see just how it would turn out. She's live right now at Kosare Children's Hospital. Connie?
Well, Scott, I'm smiling because it turned out great. She is being checked out here at Kosare Children's Hospital. I got off the phone with her aunt just moments ago. She tells me she's going to be okay, but as you can imagine, a 2-year-old falling down that hole, she is shaken up, as we all were. Everybody that was out there, when you think about it, just waiting for a 2-year-old to come out, everybody was hoping and praying she would be okay, as well as the football coach who went in after her. Just before 7:45 Thursday night, a dramatic scene began playing out in Russell Lee Park. 2-year-old Mayana Moore was playing near the area where Louisville youth football teams practice when she bolted away from her family like many toddlers do and fell some 12 feet down an old brick cistern. One of the league's football coaches, Terrence Washington, didn't hesitate. Coach Terrence, as he's known to his kids, heroically went right in after her.
And then she just fell in, and that's when the coach jumped in right behind her.
The girl's mother kept her faith, as her family and friends and those of the coach weren't going anywhere, all shaking nervously, waiting it out, hoping for the best, as Louisville Fire and Rescue and their special teams went down after them.
Oh, scared. We were screaming. We couldn't get it together.
Just over an hour after the 2-year-old fell in, they got her. Rescuers pulling their rope and getting her safely into her mother's arms. Those who use the park tell us they've called the city many times asking for the holes to be covered. This little boy nearly fell down into the cistern a few weeks ago.
My whole leg went in and my other leg was out. I don't know.
You just climbed out of it?
Yeah, I pushed myself out.
And you guys put cones up and you asked the city to do something and nothing's happened?
Nothing happened. They came and cut the grass. We made the phone calls. They came and cut the grass the other day.
Rescuers worked to get the coach out. A little more difficult to pull out an adult from the dark hole, but rescuers tell us the brick did give them support. About 15 to 20 minutes later, Coach Terrence, the man of the hour, was out safely.
Everybody supports Coach Terrence, who was the superhero today, who just decided to jump in. And I think regardless if you know a child or not, anybody that could have fit in that hole would have jumped in.
Happy ending for us all. hopefully it'll be even more happier when the city come and redo our field. We won't have this little incident again.
And guys, an amazing example of the human spirit all the way around, from the coach who went in to the fire and rescue crews who got him and the little girl out safely. And of course, as you heard the last coach talking about, I'm sure we're going to hear plenty more at the end of the week and probably next week, a little bit more about those holes and why they weren't covered. And back to you.
All right, Connie Leonard, thanks so much. Louisville Fire and Rescue worked very quickly. Once they got there, they say they were happy to learn this was a man-made hole, an old cistern.
We are actually pretty nervous about going in an unsecured or a shored area. So knowing that it was brick line, it's been there for many years. It was secured, so that was actually better.
Now, they first got the call at 7:41. The little girl was taken out of the hole at 8:44, and then the football coach at 8:58. This is how they did it. A rescuer was lowered down into the hole with a harness, which they attached to the person and then brought them up.
A lot of people might think, why didn't you just put a ladder down there? The hole was maybe 2.5, 3 feet round, so it was very tight. A ladder wouldn't have gone down there and been able to accommodate somebody coming up out of it.
Well, clearly what they did tonight worked. If you would like to see a slideshow of this rescue, go to wave3.com.
Well, firefighters are still looking for what caused a fire. We brought you as breaking news on Wave 3 News here at 6. It was a home on Ernie Avenue. This is in New Albany, near Binford Park, and not far from the New Albany Country Club, not too far from Floyd Memorial Hospital either. We are told, though, no one was injured in that fire. And firefighters appear to be getting the upper hand on a raging fire that's destroyed much of the iconic Jersey Shore boardwalk. That fire is still burning. It's already burned 30 businesses in Seaside Park and Seaside. The turning point, when crews ripped up 25 feet of the boardwalk to act as a fire break, and they filled the breach with sand. That boardwalk had just been rebuilt after Hurricane Sandy.
We're alive. That's number one.
Right now, widespread flooding across Colorado has left residents tired and damp and just glad to be alive. The video from Colorado of that flooding is incredible. It stretches all the way to Texas, New Mexico, and Utah. Unbelievable amounts. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harnett has been tracking that system. Kevin, you mentioned earlier the word biblical being used out there. More than a foot of rain in some spots?
Yeah, and with a foot of rain falling near Boulder, Colorado, Scott, heavy rains have washed away just about everything in their path, and at least 3 people are dead tonight. Take a look at this from near Loveland. Now, that's just outside of Boulder. Police and firefighters worked feverishly throughout the day to get people to safety. Others, well, they waited until the last minute.
3:30 we decided to evacuate before the mountain slid down the hill, and as we left, then the big mudslide happened, and all this rock right here was all blown through. It was pitch black out.
Well, some of the flooding is made worse because of recent wildfires along Colorado's Front Range. There are fewer roots to hold the soil in place, so you know what that means. Either the water rushes downhill or erodes the surface below.
We got a big hill, steep hill behind me, and it gave way last night. I got a pretty good mudslide, but it missed the house.
Now, at one point, the sheriff of Larimer County says there were rocks falling on cars because of the landslides. The National Guard moved in to help 200 people stranded and holed up in schools in the town of Lyons. Now, there's more rain expected overnight. That system in Colorado will not impact our weekend weather. That's the good news. I'm going to be back with a cooler forecast for Kentuckiana coming up in just about 10 minutes. Shannon?
Thank you. Parents accused of starving and locking away their disabled daughter for years now face charges in Carroll County. The 23-year-old has Down syndrome and survived despite going from weighing 189 pounds to just 86 pounds in her 4 years of captivity. Kentucky State Police arrested Billy and Robin Mertz, who both pleaded not guilty to charges of neglecting and abusing an adult. Investigators say the father and stepmother boarded up the doorframe to keep their daughter in the basement for weeks, even months at a time.
For 4 years. That's very, very disturbing.
Some people just didn't know she lived there. Others, when they went to visit, were told she was asleep and weren't allowed to see her.
An anonymous tip launched the investigation. Adult Protective Services have made no comment on the case. The Mertzes have other children as well that apparently they did care for. Today, a judge ordered them, though, to have no contact with those kids.
The debate on whether to end liquor sales at stores at 2 a.m. continues. Tonight, the Metro Council voted in favor of sending that ordinance back to committee. Wave 3 News reporter Katie Bauer is live at City Hall. And Katie, why did the majority of the members want to send this issue back?
Scott, the current ordinance does not stop beer sales at 2 a.m., only liquor and wine. So some council members argued if the idea is to fix a crime problem, still allowing some alcohol to be sold until 4 a.m. is not the solution. Lucky Jr. on 26th Street has been selling alcohol for 49 years. Manager James Alexa doesn't understand why the council would choose to try to shut down liquor stores at 2 a.m. and not bars.
If you're going to do one, you're going to do everybody.
The idea to push to stop liquor sales after 2 a.m. in Louisville was brought about as an effort to stop crime. Councilwoman Sherry Bryant Hamilton says right now 38 liquor stores are licensed to sell until 4 a.m. Most are in the West End.
We have to take control of our neighborhoods. This is a related issue.
But not everyone agrees the problems are alcohol related.
I really question, and I said this in the committee meeting, whether crime is caused by alcohol.
The owners of Lucky Jr. say they back that statement. Alexa's parents started the business decades ago, and since the beginning they have sold beer, wine, and liquor until 4 a.m.
I'm telling you, the problem is not the liquor. It is the drug dealers.
For hours, the council went back and forth on the proposed ordinance, attempting to add amendments and make clarifications.
I'm baffled at why some of my colleagues, if they're in favor of this ordinance as it stood today, why they would not want to include beer if the problem's alcohol.
Councilman Brent Ackerson says he would be in favor if it comes back and beer is included.
I'm not in favor of passing a law that essentially doesn't do what it's intended to do.
So in the end, with a vote of 16 to 10, the ordinance was sent back to the committee for deeper discussion. Live at City Hall tonight, Katie Bauer, Wave 3 News.
Thanks, Katie. Good luck finding a ticket for the Louisville, Kentucky football game this Saturday, right? The battle for the Governor's Cup, the Cards ranked in the top 10, number 7. But there are plenty of tickets left. And it looks like it comes down to cost. The Cats had some trouble filling their stadium last year. Remember, in the final season of Joker Phillips, a lot of holes in there. But renewed enthusiasm with Bob Stoops taking over led to 50,000 fans just for the spring game. But here's the problem for Saturday against the Cards. Those tickets in the upper reaches of Commonwealth Stadium, they usually go for about $45 if you're way back here, $41 plus a few administrative costs. Well, for Louisville and Alabama this year, they call it dynamic game pricing. $81 when you add in the fees online, and that's what you're going to have to pay. Now, I talked with 84 WHAS sports talk show host Lachlan McLean about the fact that thousands of seats could still be out there.
There's no reason this game shouldn't fill up, regardless of the season Kentucky's having. Louisville's a top 10 team. There's enthusiasm. There's interest. The weather is perfect. The only thing that would keep people away are ridiculous ticket prices, and it seems like that's what we have.
By the way, U of L has tickets in the upper corners of Papa John's this season for about $15 to $20. But our sources say U of L has raised prices for those cheap seats, too, for the Cats game recently in response to UK doing it first. Still ahead here on Wave 3 News at 6, the Syrian dictator's word not enough. The U.S. says it wants proof now. Assad is telling the truth about his weapons coming up.
And chemical weapons just like the ones used in Syria, stored right here in the bluegrass. Troubleshooter Eric Flack finds out why as Wave 3 News at 11 continues tonight.
Now, streaming live on mobile, this is Wave 3 News at 11.
Secretary of State John Kerry making it clear that the military option is not off the table, even as the U.S. and Russia sit down in Geneva to talk about how Syria will turn over the chemical weapons it now admits it has. And Kerry rejected the suggestion from Syria's Bashar Assad that he will submit data on his chemical weapons program. A month after he signs an international ban on the weapons, Kerry says Assad's words are not enough.
Well, listen to this. There are deadly chemical weapons being housed right here in Kentucky.
Wave 3 troubleshooter Eric Flack found out they are being kept at a U.S. military facility about 100 miles from Louisville. He traveled to that Army depot earlier today. And Eric, are we talking about some kind of nerve agent similar to what was used in Syria?
Yeah, Scott, the exact same ones allegedly used by the Syrian president to kill 1,400 of his own people. Some of those graphic images you're about to see. Chemical weapons have been stored at the Bluegrass Army Depot since the 40s, and the military is working to get rid of them. But the project has been bogged down in delays, leaving some Kentucky families living under a cloud of uncertainty.
Tucked away on this 15,000-acre heavily guarded Army depot in Madison County, 523 tons of weaponized chemicals are waiting to be destroyed by the U.S. military. Toxic nerve agents that attack the body, in some cases suffocating and killing the victim in minutes.
Do these chemical weapons pose a risk to the community?
Of course. Craig Williams is co-chairman of the governor's Chemical Destruction Citizen Advisory Board. He's teamed with Senator Mitch McConnell to press the U.S. military to eliminate its chemical stockpile in Kentucky, something Williams says should have been done long ago.
Originally, the Army said that they would get it done nationally by 1994 for a cost of $1.8 billion. It's now 2013. They've spent about $35 billion. So they're a little behind schedule and a little bit over budget.
Since the 90s, the U.S. government has worked to destroy chemical weapons stockpiles at 7 of its military sites. But arsenals in Kentucky and Colorado remain. And the Bluegrass Army Depot here in Richmond is the only location in the country to still house sarin and VX, the most lethal of toxic agents. It was sarin that was allegedly used by Syrian President Bashar Assad in a chemical attack on civilians August 21st, an incident that led President Obama to threaten airstrikes if Assad doesn't hand over his chemical stockpile. Destroying those weapons could take years, both in Syria and here in Kentucky. The plant being built at the Bluegrass Army Depot to neutralize the chemical agents is only 70% complete. And right now, estimates are the chemical weapons housed here won't be totally eliminated until 2023. So how big a threat is all this in the meantime? Williams says it's low. It would take something catastrophic, like an earthquake or multiple lightning strikes, to cause a release.
Under the worst case meteorological conditions, with the worst type of agents, the zone of fatality could reach 35 miles.
35 miles?
Correct.
How many people is that?
Several 100,000 because you start capturing parts of Lexington if the wind is blowing the right way. The probability of that is about the same as me waking up tomorrow morning with a full head of hair.
Still, Williams says FEMA has spent millions of dollars on emergency response plans, including warning sirens and alert radios in every home in the event the chemicals ever get airborne. We asked the Army for a tour of the chemical weapons facility, but that request has been put off until next week. The military guys has yet to respond to a list of questions I sent them yesterday about the delays in cleaning up all these weapons and also basically whether or not it's going to be done sooner rather than later.
Why could it have taken so long, Eric?
Well, I mean, one of the reasons Williams identified is that all these weapons here in the Bluegrass are weaponized, meaning it's not just 500 tons of chemical weapons, it's 500 tons of chemical weapons on about 1,000 rockets. That makes it more complicated to dismantle. It also makes it more expensive and just takes longer.
All right, Eric, thanks.
Number 1 in breaking weather coverage. Here's your local forecast from Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harnett of the Wave 3 Storm Tracking Team.
George, looking at a nationwide view of what's going on. We've had some very active weather and very damaging weather across portions of the United States today. First off, the winds in the northeast fanning the flames up across parts of New Jersey. That's with 2 cold fronts passing by, and they've each passed by us as well, delivering a little bit of rain today, but more importantly, the cooler temperatures for us by the weekend. And then, of course, we've all seen the flooding going on out across portions of Colorado. Heavy rains continue there in some places, adding insult to injury. You can see just north of Denver, the higher totals upwards of a half a foot, and in some isolated areas as much as a foot of rain. Closer to home, it was closer to a quarter of an inch of rain in some of the higher totals. Far western portions of Breckinridge County, you work your way into southern Indiana. A few places had a couple of downpours today. Some areas picked up rain with the cold front. Some places stayed dry, and you can see tonight we're high and dry tonight with a clear sky across Kentuckiana. Should stay that way for most of us. 72 outside. That's the current reading. Winds out of the southwest. Our high today hit 83, right on target with the morning low of 72. So when we look at the nighttime lows over the next couple of days, they will be much cooler. We're under a mainly clear sky all across our area. We've been watching that throughout the evening hours. Had a beautiful sunset around. With those cool temperatures expected for the weekend, it'll have us feeling like fall, despite the fact that fall is actually 10 days away. One thing you'll notice missing from the 14-day forecast, or at least the trend, temperatures in the 90s. In fact, we've been in the 90s all week long with the exception of today. And by the time tomorrow rolls around, high temperatures will be very much like what they are outside right now, in the low 70s. Same story on Saturday, a little warmer Sunday. We're back into the 80s, and it's a mix of 70s and 80s that take us through the balance of the week. Check out what's happening. We've had 2 fronts pass by, one to our south, another one moving in now. That will reinforce the cooler temperatures. Currently in Louisville, 72, low 70s and a few 60s showing up off to our north. As the night goes on, those temperatures drop down under a clear sky. We'll fall into the 50s tonight. bounce back into the low 70s tomorrow, and the noticeable cool down will really take place by Saturday morning, some places in the lower 40s. 59 in the city tonight, turning cooler. Can't rule out a brief shower off to our north as that second front passes by, but most areas stay dry. 73 for the high tomorrow, a little breezy at times, a cooler day. And check out this forecast. It's cooling down from where we've been this week. High temperatures in the low 70s for the next couple of days. A cool start to the day on Saturday, 49 degrees. Temperatures at kickoff over in Commonwealth Stadium in Lexington will likely be in the low to mid 60s.
Wow, what a change, really, because it was just Tuesday that we were so hot.
Yeah, in the 90s all week. Matter of fact, on Tuesday that you mentioned, Indianapolis hit a record high on that day of 96.
Wow. You could feel it out there tonight, just switching.
Feels great.
Yeah, it certainly does. Thanks, Kev.
Yeah. All right, let's head over to Kent because he's got some big basketball news about a Ballard boy.
Yeah, he picked U of L, then he changed his mind, and tonight he picked another school. Where will Quentin Snyder play college basketball? Plus, how impressed was Charlie Strong when he saw freshman Teddy Bridgewater come off the bench to lead the Cards to a win in Lexington 2 years ago? That answer next in sports. In the summer of 2011, Ballard guard Quentin Snyder verbally committed to U of L. That was after his freshman season. Last month, Snyder changed his mind and reopened his recruitment. And after a string of visits across the country, tonight at Ballard, he announced his next decision. Snyder says he'll play college basketball at Illinois. They beat out UCLA. He cannot sign a letter of intent with the Illini until November.
When I started, I thought it was all cool and stuff, how the coaches was calling, like how Izzo called was pretty nice. All the big schools just calling. Then after like a week, it just got tiring and stuff. That's why I narrowed it down to 7. Then that's why I narrowed it down to 2. Then that's why I made my decision.
The one thing I really did like about him going to a Big Ten school is that tournament's going to rotate from Chicago and Indianapolis every year, and I knew that would be a good opportunity to go up there and spend some time and enjoy the tournament with him.
As they started to do their homework and as they started to get to know the coaching staff, they realized it probably was the best fit for them.
U of L quarterback Teddy Bridgewater has thrown 50 touchdown passes as a Card. Saturday afternoon, he returns to the site of numbers 1 and 2. He came off the bench to replace an injured Will Stein in 2011 and led the Cards to a 24-17 win.
Well, I just didn't know, just because he entered the game, you didn't know how he was going to play. Because that's his first game, and then you're sitting there like, okay, is he going to be able to manage the game? Is he going to get us in the right checks? Can he handle the offense? And the environment that night was just unbelievable. You know, here you are, your big rival game. And for him to go in and play as well as he did, I think that everyone was shocked, even the coaches.
U of L Vice President of Athletics Tom Jurich was the speaker at the Rotary Club of Louisville meeting this afternoon. He said Notre Dame's visit to Papa John's Cardinal Stadium should come in 2017, and he offered up this on the Cards' 2013 schedule.
You know, we lost Boise State, we lost San Diego State. We thought we were going to be playing TCU this year. We lost those games all in a really small, short period of time, and then we went out and beat Florida, and after that, it was very difficult to get anybody to play.
This week's installment of You Can't Be Serious with our Clear Channel partners debuted on Wave 3 News at 7:30. That video is on the sports page of wave3.com, complete with Governor's Cup predictions. Up next, the highlight of the night, plus a preview of Touchdown Friday night. Tomorrow night, week 4 of Touchdown Friday night. And among the games that we'll cover, a bragging rights battle in Shelby County as the Collins Titans visit the Rockets. I will be there for that one. Now, Kent's highlight of the night, the Indians' Lonnie Chisenhall with the rocket to first, but the Royals' Eric Hosmer manages to snag it barely. The snow cone grab is Kent's highlights of the night. That's a snow cone right there. Good thing he had the first baseman's glove. That sounds pretty good, actually, a snow cone, doesn't it?
It does, I agree.
By the way, the Keeneland yearling sale prices back up above or beyond 2008, $2.5 million for one colt,
awesome.
one yearling.
Good to see.
We weren't there for that one.
Big money. We'll be right back. Check out this star-studded event benefiting a good cause at the Whitehall Mansion tonight. This was the 7th annual Taste for Prevention fundraising event to support the Exploited Children's Help Organization. And you might recognize a few of the people in these pictures. I do. Janelle McDonald, Don G, Myra Ansari, and Sherelle Hubbard were there serving as hosts for this event. Great job, guys.
Maybe that's why Sherelle helped me at my desk today, because she was getting ready for working there tonight. But that was a little more important.
She helped you at your
She did.
desk.
She was
What do you
like
mean?
cleaning it up and.
Oh, well,
kinda
that's
fixing
because
it up.
maybe it was a man.
Glad somebody's helping you out. Wow.
Because you need it.
I do.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's absolute truth.
I'm not going to say anything.
Everyone is looking forward to this weekend because the weather's going to be so great and there are lots of wonderful events.
I think perfect sums it up. You see it in the 7 days there. Kent will be happy about Friday night football, the game over in Lexington. We're aiming to please Kent.
Good stuff. Yeah, that's not bad, Kevin.
Keep it there through October.
We'll keep you through
Go
next
ahead,
week.
jab on him. I know you want to say something.
I've got nothing. Good night.
Now, with Wave3.com and the Wave3 News mobile app, you always have breaking news and breaking weather right where you are.